Welcome to Search for Signs. My name is Gary Willing. If this information interests you, please press the like and subscribe button and press the bell for notifications. In the near future, right, if we could see our kids in the future or our children's children, right, I think we'd be really amazed at how they live life. Now, I think they would be horrified by the way that we live our lives today, but, anyway. We're in a transitional cycle. What can I say? So this is what it is, right? But of course, technologically things will be different. Our cities will look different. The way that we relate to one another will be different. The time that we spend working is going to be totally different. But the way, like I said, some of the let me go into it a little bit better, I guess. But the certain things that Maitreya is his priorities are, like, for instance, sharing, right? The infrastructure is already in place to have that come about. It's just really a lack of will on our part. So, for instance, we don't have to wait and grow more food. We already have too much food. We don't have to learn how to fly food or transport food from one country to another. We already know how to do it. We already have the boats, the ships, the shipping containers. We already have the people in place to move food from point A to point B. It's just a lack of will, really. Same thing with the environment, right? Now, it might come as some surprise to those who are very on top of the ecological problems that we have today, that according to Maitreya and the Masters, greenhouse gases and climate change, as destructive as that is, pales in comparison to the damage that nuclear radiation is doing to us today. Not only to the environment, but to all of us. It's what's creating a lot of the problems and the diseases in the world, but it's also killing off our environment as well. And Maitreya, right now, being on TV for the last 9 or so years, speaking in incognito, is not going to last forever. He's eventually going to start to speak more and more. People are going to recognize him more and more, and then he's going to come before the world on the Day of Declaration and give his call to humanity to change the world once and for all, globally on television, so we'll all see him. Fulfilling the biblical prophecy of all eyes will see him, really. Now, I would say probably the next day or maybe the day after that, it won't be long, okay? He is going to advocate that we shut down all the nuclear reactors that we have going on today. Now, it's not as traumatic as you might think, because we actually already have the technology in place for a cleaner, saner, more stable nuclear program. And so the nuclear program that we have today, it is very unstable. It can at any moment could have a meltdown, like we saw in Japan or in Chernobyl or whatever. It doesn't happen every day, but it does happen, right? But also the way that we store nuclear waste, it takes millennia before it's even safe to even be around, let alone handle. So it's very destructive, and at any moment that could cause problems, right? And it seeps into our water supply and all sorts of food supply and everything. So it's just really, it's amazing how how the contamination of nuclear radiation just goes everywhere. And if it wasn't for the help of the Space Brothers to begin with, we'd be in a really sorry state. So they're helping us clean it up to some degree, but a lot of it we still have to kind of live with. Now, the other way of doing nuclear radiation, which is that Maitreya is going to start to advocate, we already have the technology for. It's just slightly more expensive. It's not hugely expensive. It just would mean that the power companies around the world make a little less profit. I mean, it's kind of scary how commercialization really affects people, right? But yet it would be stable. There wouldn't be any meltdowns. There wouldn't be any need to store this toxic contamination, right, in this waste. The isotope is clean drinking water, really. And so that will help change it, because ultimately in the future we will be given a technology from the Space Brothers and the Masters themselves called the technology of light. And this is how the Space Brothers travel. This is how they power their cities. It's clean, it's free for everyone. But how they travel, they use the technology of light from the sun to do that. But in order for the masters to trust us with this energy and this technology, we will have to prove to them that we've given up war forever. So it's not going to be something that's going to be immediate. It's going to take years for us to be able to prove to them, like, okay, we've done it. Now, don't worry, that's Maitreya's job to know when it's going to be okay for him to tell the Space Brothers to give us this technology. But you don't have to worry about it. It will happen. As soon as he knows, he's not going to wait any longer than he needs to, but he'll know the hearts and minds of all of us when peace is truly the way that we're living, right? We'll have to share of course, have to be sharing the world's resources. There'll have to be justice in the world, but it's going to take time before he can trust us to be able with this technology, because this technology is far more dangerous than even nuclear power. And so, like I said, we'll have to kind of show him that we're ready. Now, in the meantime, he's going to, of course, advocate a different way of doing this, using this technology. Now, as we start to move into the future and things are more peaceful, right? And of course, there's sharing in the world. People will start to reevaluate their lives. Now, one of the things, for instance, right, like how much of the stuff that we produce as a people today do we really need, right? There's a lot of really pretty shiny junk that we buy in garbage, right? That we buy every single day that we don't need. Now, to make that little trinket or that little tchotchke that sits on our mantle that collects dust or whatever like this, I don't know how many people it took to build it, but it's a lot of people that are producing those things. And then you got to sell it, then you got to market it, of course, then you got to ship it and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of our time and energy as a society is wasted on building stuff and producing stuff that we really don't need. So of course that's going to change in the future, which is going to lay off a large segment of the workforce. Now, it's not going to be as traumatic as it would be today, because the masters, it will show us the need for sharing the resources and having food and clothing and shelter as a right for everyone. So the fact that somebody's not working a dead-end job to make ends meet won't be as traumatic if they lose their job like it would be today. I mean, it could be really awful, right? So, but yet it will lay off a lot of people, or people will have to work less because we're not having to make all this stuff to make more money to meet the projections of the stockbrokers and stockholders and the boards and stuff like this around the world, right? So things will change. Our priorities will change as a people. The way that we do things will change in the very near future. And according to the masters, we'll have a lot more free time. They call it leisure time. Now, I don't know about you, but when I have days off, I have a hard time sometimes knowing what to do to really fill my day. One of the master's jobs and Maitreya's job is to show us how to live our lives in leisure, how to enrich not only our lives, but enriching, helping us to help us enrich the planet. And then therefore will make our lives more enriched. You know what I'm saying? Not to use the word enriched 5 times in a row or whatever, but it's just, they'll teach us how to serve. They'll show us that that's the way forward for us, how to be, they'll help to bring about our own natural and innate creativity in our lives. And it will fulfill us in a way that we're not feeling today. And also, one of Maitreya's priorities is the free interchanges of people, where we won't need passports like we do today. It won't be expensive to go from, the United States and go and visit Europe for a month. We'll be able to do it. We'll have the free time to be able to do it. And the people from the third world countries will be able to go to Europe or go to the United States and not have to worry about getting kicked out by Trump. It's just, and so it'll be a movement of an interchange of people on a global scale that we've never seen before, because even the least among us will be free to travel wherever they go. They can go see Antarctica, they can go see Europe, they can go to South America or whatever, and we'll be able to see all the great landmarks around the world. We'll be able to meet people that we would have never had a chance of meeting. We'll learn from cultures that we would have never had a chance to learn from if it wasn't for a changing of our priorities as a people. And so that's what's going to happen in the very near future. And then, of course, travel is going to change. Just the technology of way we travel is going to change. It'll be smoother. It won't be as rough. You know, I'm going to the Philippines next month to visit the Philippines with my family, right? And I'm not looking forward to that 24 or 25-hour flight and all the layovers and getting crammed into a plane and the bumpiness of the plane and being tired when I get there and jet lagged and all that kind of stuff. According to the masters, in the future, the way that we travel, we'll actually be more rested than we were when we got on the train or on the plane or whatever, because it will be smooth. You know, so, you know, if you look at these spaceships in the sky today, they can go supersonic speed in a second and stop on a dime. So it's not like all the occupants of these spaceships go flying right to the front and go smack against all the windows in the spacecraft, right? They have a technology that centrifugal force and those kind of things don't apply, right? And gravity doesn't apply, really. But we will eventually have that technology of traveling. But in the near future, our children and our children's lives, and if we live long enough ourselves, our lives will be much different. We'll be able to breathe the air a little bit easier, right? We won't be as concerned about the environment anymore. We'll be concerned about it, but we won't be as alarmed about the destruction of the environment as we are today. But also, you know, we'll be surprised at how much time we have on our hands, and that these masters, like I said, these masters will start to show us how to live our lives in leisure. And it will enrich our lives and fulfill our lives in a way that we can't even imagine today. But in the meantime, we have to share and as always, take action. Help SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos. Have a great day.